Good morning. I'm Junior from Here For You Life Coaching. So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about prosperity consciousness. Prosperity consciousness versus scarcity consciousness. Okay, abundance and, prosperity versus lack, limitation, and scarcity consciousness. Okay, so it's kind of sort of the same as mindset. It's kind of the sort of the same as when you talk about scarcity and abundance in mindset or in thinking. But this is spirituality. Okay, when I say spirituality, when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about, religion, or I'm not talking about some mysterious thing. I'm talking about your energy in here. You're not your body. You're not your name. You're that energy that lives in here. And that's what I'm referencing. That's what I'm talking about. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Manuel. Good morning. Manuel, thank you for sending me those videos. I've been putting them up on my site, on my Facebook. So, uh, anyway, we have a chat going on over here, so excuse me if I go back and forth. So, we're going to talk about prosperity consciousness. Now, consciousness is the key. Scarcity consciousness. Okay, consciousness is the key. Thank you, Manuel. So, let's take a look at that, right? So, what is your core belief in scarcity consciousness, in a lack mindset? It's the same as mindset. There isn't enough. I don't have enough. Okay? So I must protect what I have. I must compete to get. So there's competition mindset, okay, and there's creation mindset. Okay? So those are the two mindsets that we go back and forth from. Okay? Because in creation mindset, the thinking is I can create these things for myself. I can create an environment for myself. If you've been, yesterday, we talked a little bit about narcissism yesterday. So in that case, if you have survived a narcissist, I can create a safe environment for myself. But if you start worrying, the first negative vibration, if you start to worry, what does that do? Well, that starts to bring in that reality. And we were trying to show you, like, this whole week, actually, we were talking about how susceptible you are to influence. Thank you. How susceptible you are. How easy it is for human beings to believe. Believe anything. Okay? I'm not talking about religion when I say believe or believer. I'm talking about you. You're a believer. Whether you believe in God, you don't believe in God, whether you believe in whatever you believe in, you're a believer. Okay? So believing is a thing for the human being. This is why advertising works. In 2 weeks, they can get you to buy a product. Okay, when you're scrolling and you see something, you might look at it, you might be interested, but in 2 weeks you'll be susceptible enough, inducted enough, influenced enough to buy the product. Hey, Chris, thank you, thank you. Thank you for liking the live. Please share the live, you guys. Share the live if you can. And yeah, Chris, you can ask questions. So, prosperity consciousness, what does that involve? It involves what I always try to tell you, okay? What I always try to teach you. And I always share this. A prosperity consciousness means that you acknowledge that God lives in here. Whether you call it God, whether you call it source, whether you call it universe, Allah, Jesus Christ, whatever you call it. Do you think the church people that go to churches, like, there's so many church people, right? Different denominations, different beliefs. Do you think that they have a different energy in here? No. We are all one species. We are all created the same. Okay, now there's different belief systems, sure. People believe differently, and everyone has the right to believe differently. I'm not here to tell you how to believe. So if you think that God lives in here, if you think that Source lives in here, if you think that this is the universe, I was seeking baptism. He gave me good insight. I had to endure a lot due to my femininity. Ah, okay. So Chris, are you a fem? Oh, I see. Am a man. I love being a man. Okay. So wait. Okay. So you're talking about your feminine side as a man. Is that what you're talking about? I don't. I'm sorry, I didn't put it together. Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Okay. Continue. I'll read it. I'll follow. So prosperity consciousness, right? When you acknowledge whatever you call that, whatever you call your spirit, you are a spiritual being has having a physical experience. Okay? You're not your body, you're not your name, you're that spirit that lives in here, that energy that lives in here. But this is eternal. This, the body, is temporary. Okay? So how does that play into everything, into the larger scheme of things, the big picture? How does that play into the big picture? Well, if you know, okay, or you believe, either one, if you know or believe that God lives in here, that your higher self lives in here, that your creator lives in here with you, that dwells within you, that energy that we're talking about, that spirit, that soul, then if you truly believe in it, okay, or if you know, oh, I see. Keep going, Chris, I'm following. So if you know these things, then you know you're good from within. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. So if you know these things, then you know that God brings the supply. Then you know that everything, blessings, okay, everything we're blessed with, okay, comes from God through others to us. So let me give you an example. And these are, these examples, some people dispute this. They go, oh, that can't be. So I go to this park to walk. How can I attract good energy? So like attracts like, you have to become good energy. You will automatically attract good energy. I did a lot of things in the past. I take for granted my blessings. So just don't take it for granted. Just when you acknowledge your blessings and you're grateful for your blessings, you say thank you. You just say thank you in here. But say thank you for your blessings. Think of all the blessings. That's why you have the old expression, count your blessings. So count your blessings, okay? Which means just call them to mind. Think about them. Think about all of your blessings and then express gratitude for them. So, prosperity consciousness, when you know that God lives in here, when you're aware, okay, so this is for awareness, so that you increase your awareness. Okay, so I come on here and talk every day for an hour, okay? And I talk about awareness and how you are awareness. Because people need to snap out of the societal hypnosis. You are in a huge hypnotic state and you don't realize it. Because you get fed all of these ideas and your thinking starts to be shaped the way entities would like your thinking to be shaped. Then you start to believe. Okay? So, like I said, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, either way, you're a believer because you start to believe things. Then you start to identify with things. Then you start to identify with things in the physical world. But you're in here. There's a separation between the body and the spirit. Okay, so prosperity consciousness dictates that if you believe God is in here, then why isn't God right out here? Why isn't the reflection of that right out here for some people? Okay, so in other words, if you believe in God, then you believe that God brings blessings. Everything comes to us from God through others. Okay, And that's how blessings are delivered. So I go to this park, and I work out by walking and jogging. Okay, so Chris, I'll be right there. And the cats, there's wild cats at the park. These are feral cats that are just all over the park. And every day, these old ladies come, and I mean they're in their 80s, late 70s, 80s, and every day they come with canned food. Like, this is the best food cats can eat. It's not dry food, it's canned food. And they open cans of food for these cats every day. That's expensive. The cats are eating like 5-star meals every morning. So you see, God feeds the cats through these ladies. God brings your blessings to you through others. So when we talk about the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious, and the superconscious representing God, what we're saying is that this energy in here, your divine connection in here, is what communicates, or, right, either way, communicates positive or negative against the divine energy. Yesterday we talked more about that, but today it's prosperity consciousness versus scarcity consciousness. In other words, if you trust that God brings whatever God brings to you, okay, your blessings, the good stuff, money, relationships, employment, occupations, careers, everything, then you have to be good with that. You have to rely on that. You have to think about that, and you have to believe in that. But I know so many religious people, they go to church on Sunday, right? Like, and everything here outside is in a shambles. People tell me that, even people that don't go to church, but they tell me, oh, no, I believe in God. No, yeah, I believe in God. But there's no reflection in their life. What am I talking about? The universal law of correspondence says whatever is in here is reflected out here. Okay, so when when somebody picks you up in their car, and you go in their car, and it's all messy, and it's dirty, and it looks like it needs to be vacuumed, and all of that, okay? That's how they are in here. If you work for a company and you walk down the hall, or you walk by a group of desks, and the desks that are really organized, everything is in its place, those people are organized in here. The ones that are scattered, things are piled all over the place, they're scattered in here. And this is why people cannot hide from each other. The people that know about these things, okay? So the people that know about these things, other people cannot hide from them. Because everything that's in here, that's going on in here, is going to be duplicated out here. So when someone tells you, oh yeah, I believe in God, I believe in, yet out here in the physical world, right? Because there's a separation between the spiritual and physical. In the physical world, things are a mess. In the physical world, their lives are chaotic. In the physical world, there's no order. That's because the negative emotions have taken over. Anxiety, stress, worry, irritation, guilt, shame, fear, all of that. And all negative emotions are rooted in fear. They're rooted in fear. So no matter how much a person, would like to believe in God, would like to believe that, oh yeah, God is real, God brings me all the blessings. But the reflection of that tells a different story. Where does that come from? That comes from your subconscious. So you could pray. Okay, prayer is real. Prayer works. Okay? But here's the caveat. Prayer only works when it is working in concert. Okay? In alignment with your subconscious. Because your subconscious, or let's say it another way, your core beliefs are already set in place. And unless you change them, you can pray for prosperity. But if your core beliefs are rooted in scarcity consciousness, in other words, in consciousness versus mindset, consciousness versus mindset dictates that consciousness means you feel a separation from the divine, from God. Okay, so it's on a spiritual level, it's on an energetic level. Okay, spirit, body, it's not on the physical level. In mindset, it's at the mental level, you're thinking. So in mindset, it's thinking you're not enough. In mindset, it's thinking, that looks impossible for me. In mindset, that's thinking that, well, maybe that's not possible. So if you're writing an affirmation, I am so happy and grateful now that I have that brand new job at XYZ company. Thank you. That's your affirmation. But if your subconscious is rooted in, I don't think I'm good enough for that job. I don't think that, that job pays a lot. I don't think I can make that kind of money. Then guess what? You can write affirmations for that job. You can pray for that job. You could pray for that job every day. But your subconscious says no. Not possible. So then you have a conflict. And this is what most people wrestle with, okay? And this is why if you're going to, if you're learning anything, if you're going to any kind of instruction, if you're going to any kind of religion, any kind of church, any kind of temple, any kind of synagogue, anything, whatever it is, whether it's, rooted in the spiritual world or religious world or thought world or academic world, if you're learning anything that involves guilt, shame, and fear, forget it. It's not going to work. Why? Because doubt and fear are the two things that work against manifestation. Or let's say it another way, against you attaining your goals or achieving your goals. But when you put that on the consciousness level, that suggests that you have no faith that you're connected to the divine. If you believe Jesus Christ, if you believe Allah, if you believe whatever you believe, but that divine energy that lives in here, that divine energy that is your power in here, if you doubt that energy, if you doubt that goodness, if you doubt within the kingdom, because that's all that's in the kingdom, that divine energy, your three states of awareness, conscious, subconscious, superconscious, but they all exist in here. The kingdom is within. Jesus Christ told you the kingdom is within. If you doubt that, you're doubting on the consciousness level. You're doubting on the spiritual level, on the energetic level, not just mindset. So this is what we're talking about. Then the core belief would be, there's not enough. So I have to protect this. I can't give too much because I have to, right? Because there's a limit. This is finite. I have to compete or settle, right? See? So on a spiritual level, if you feel like this, the key word is feel. If you feel like this is not just mindset. This goes deeper than that. If you doubt the connection between you and God God lives in here, if you're doubting that connection, if you have questions or if you question that connection, you're not going to start to open up the abundance channel that will bring you everything you desire out here. Why? Because the doubt is in here, but it's at the spiritual level. If it's on the mental level, it's easy to get rid of. Easy to get rid of. But if your core beliefs interfere on a consciousness level, okay, then what? Well, then no amount of prayer is going to fix that. Can you change it from mindset? Yeah, you can. It takes practice, but eventually you can. But you have to acknowledge the divine. You have to acknowledge the superconscious. Because otherwise, you doubt that you're supported. You doubt that you're always enough. You doubt that God is your co-creator, or that you are co-creator with God. It works both ways. You know, so some people they look very religious. So I always describe two ways of wealth. There's two ways of wealth. Number one, you save all your money, you live in scarcity, you live in bare minimum, you know. So you don't wear the good clothes, you don't eat the good food, you don't, you know, but all the money goes in the bank, right? You stack it up, okay? And then you have some money in the bank. And then maybe you make some investments and you grow that money, and okay, now you have some money going on. What's the second way of wealth? The second way of wealth is when you acknowledge God. When you acknowledge that God just brings, God just gives. And now you have that open channel. Like the cats at the park, the old ladies show up every morning and feed the cats. Okay? God is feeding the cats. If you believe in God, okay? God is feeding the cats. But God feeds the cats through the old ladies who have made it their dharma or their good work or their mission to feed the cats. And now the cats are eating because God has worked through these women to get the food to the cats. So if you look at that and you go, wow, even the cats eat. Yeah, of course. Okay? But all goodness comes from within the kingdom. And there is a communication between the kingdom and, let's call it higher self, let's call it God, let's call it Jesus Christ, let's call it Allah, let's call it higher self, let's call it infinite intelligence, all of those things. I'm not here to tell you what to believe, you believe as you wish. But when these things are in alignment, okay, conscious, subconscious, superconscious, okay, and the superconscious represents consciousness. So we can say consciousness, or we can say God, or we can say what we say to describe all of that, okay? But when these three are working in concert with each other, synergistically with each other, in alignment with each other, manifestation is easy. Does that mean your bank fills up with money? No, not at all. Not at all. But you know what it does mean? It does mean that when you want something, when you ask, let me show you asking. So here, there's many ways to ask, okay? So this is where I am with this one right now, not too much. I just started that one not too long ago. And this is one that, here. So these are affirmations. This is not journaling, okay? It's not journaling. Don't get it twisted. These are affirmations. These are directions for your subconscious. Your subconscious takes orders. It's an order taker. But if your subconscious believes, let's say, that you're not good enough because you taught it to do that, okay? We do that, we teach it. But it's not just us, like I was saying earlier. It's other entities. It's news media. It's religion. It's advertising. It's multimedia. It's social media. Okay? Everything, all of it. These things make us feel a certain way. And depending on what we're watching, depending on what we do, the reticular activating system in your brainstem filters out what you're not focused on. So if somebody can have you focus on negativity or lack or you're not enough or life sucks or there's you know, poverty is the struggle is real, that kind of stuff, guess what? You're going to see more of it. You're going to feel more of it. You're going to live in it. And then what? You are going to become it. Until you break free of it. Right? Some people aren't even aware that they can break free of it. Some people think, well, I'm just going to go to counseling. I'm just going to go to therapy. I'm go do these things. Some of those people end up on medicine. Why medicine? Well, it makes them feel better. But there's a whole system designed around that. But you can fix it yourself, provided it's not gone too far and it's not, in that stage where the medical community gets involved, because that's at another level. But when you talk about prosperity consciousness, you're talking about prosperity that comes from unity consciousness. What's the unity? You and your spiritual group? Kind of, sort of. But it's between you and your higher power. It's between you and God. It's between you and Jesus Christ. It's between you and Allah. It's between you and higher self. It's between you and infinite intelligence. That's the unity consciousness. The knowing that you are connected to infinite intelligence, higher intelligence, God, infinite energy and infinite supply. The funny thing was, when I was in my early 20s and I was like super negative and fighting the world and all that stuff, I looked at this kind of explanation from people back in the day, and I was like, that's crazy. That's so crazy. You know why? Because my paradigm was stuck over here, and this was over here. And when you are conditioned, okay, and some people get conditioned from education, believe it or not. Okay, most of my clients are professionals, and they create budgets for me, or to see people like me. There's many of us, but they create budgets for that. So they have budgets for that. So my professionals I see for years. I have one that's been with me for 4 years. Another one's been it's going to make 2 years with me. But these are things that they put in their budget because a prosperity consciousness or prosperity mindset is necessary for them, because they're leaders, or because they're getting to be leaders, or because they have huge jobs, high volume of work to do, a lot of stress. So they can't afford to be anxious. They can't afford to be stressful, because when you're stressful, you don't work right. When you're stressful, you're not thinking right. When you're stressful, you're not making the best decisions. What is necessary to make all these ideal decisions and to have everything working in synergy with each other, or let's say in alignment with each other? It's when you have more clarity. It's when your mind is clear. Now, if you don't control your mind, somebody else will. If you don't control your mind, you'll be susceptible to anything. And if you fall for anything, right? Or you fall for everything, you just go in a circle. You just go in a circle. You go from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, and it's just going in a circle. But if you're being selective with your thoughts, if you're being selective with what you allow, okay, so your conscious mind is the gatekeeper. Your conscious mind can say no. When it presents you with a thought, you can say no, and this will go away. But if you let it exist, if you give it energy by thinking about it, by putting your mind to it, what happens? It grows. What happens then? Well, then the emotion comes. First the thought, then the emotion. Now what? Now you feel a certain way. If it's a good thought, you feel good, no problem. If it's a bad thought, you feel bad, problem. Why? Because in repetition, if you keep thinking about it, if you dwell on it, if you start talking to your bestie about it, it goes into your subconscious as a program. And then the subconscious is wash, rinse, repeat. Because the subconscious says, oh, this is what we're working on? Okay. Wash, rinse, repeat. Prosperity consciousness, on the other hand, is very selective. You have to be selective, but you can be selective when you start making your choices, when you don't allow certain things. Now, sometimes it may be difficult because we have families, right? We have families to think of. We have other people to think of. We have other people to consider. And they might not be positive. They might not be in alignment with our belief system, whatever it is. Thank you, thank you. Hey, Rock Painting Mama, good morning. Thank you. Hey, the family's all here. So what are we really talking about with prosperity consciousness? Well, if you believe in that energy that is in the kingdom that Jesus Christ talked about, now you connect with that. Now you co-create with that. Now you become powerful in that knowledge, in that application of knowledge, because knowledge in itself is nothing. It will just take up headspace. You can have knowledge of a million things, but it's only when you put that knowledge to work and apply it to something, then it becomes something. It becomes an asset. Thought eventually turns into substance, physical substance. It manifests into the physical. Prosperity consciousness means that if you don't have money right now, okay, be patient. Be patient. Ask, believe, and you will receive. You don't have an idea right now that might solve a problem for you? Okay, no problem. Ask, believe, receive. When you ask and you believe in that prosperity consciousness or that divine connection, let's say it that way. You want to say it another way? When you believe that you and God are partners. You want to say it another way? When you and Jesus Christ form a partnership and you begin to create things that either create opportunities or create wealth or create good things or create community organizations that benefit communities, then you've discovered prosperity consciousness. But if there's a detach there, if there's a disconnection there between you and your creator because of only two things, doubt and fear, because you doubt that connection, because, well, I'm going to start this new career, but I don't know if God's going to give me the strength to do this, right? And you hear people pray like this: God, please give me the strength to do this. Well, if you have faith, if you know, why do you need to ask? You ask because you believe. If you believe, you don't know, you believe. Okay? That's why Jesus said the kingdom is within. That's why he was teaching the kingdom is within. Because you need to know, not believe. You can believe anything. The subconscious believes anything in repetition. No matter what you tell it, you give it orders. It's an order taker. But it's only when you go within, it's only when you go in the kingdom, you start to understand what Jesus was talking about. When you operate from the kingdom, you're operating through the right hemisphere of your brain, not the left, not the ego, not the procedure, not the step-by-step 1, 2, 3, ABC. No. No. This is of a greater design. This is of the right hemisphere of your brain. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, not the left. You cast your net to the right side, not the left. There is nothing on the left. Because on the left is logic. The spirit is on the right. Connection, creativity. Right? Connection to who? Connection to God and connection to each other. Intuitive knowledge, intuitive thinking. Have you ever channeled, like been telling somebody how to do something, and all of a sudden you're saying things that you don't even know you knew? And you go, wow, I hope I remember this. I didn't know this. It was because you were meant to deliver that message to that person that you're talking to, that you're explaining something to. And you're drawing upon knowledge. You're drawing upon infinite knowledge. Why? Because you were born with infinite knowledge. Education is man-made. So again, we go back to man-made, God-made. So prosperity consciousness comes from God, involves God. Because why? Because when you trust that, there is no lack. There is no limited amount. There is no, oh, well, I only have $10 today. I can't give anybody anything. Give it away. Watch what happens. You believe in God, right? Give it away. Watch what happens. I can't tell you how many times I did that. Tons and tons and tons of times. When I've used something, and my stuff is, pretty pricey. But when I've used something and I don't want to use it anymore, or it just sits around in the closet, or sits around in the room, or sits around in the house, or whatever it is, I give it away. I don't sell it. I give it. If you truly know prosperity consciousness, the rules change. You can give anything away. It will come back. Everything comes back. It's a cycle. But in order to keep that cycle moving, to keep that cycle going, you have to practice the cycle because it's energetic. Everything in the universe is energy. Everything. God is in everything. Depending on what you believe, God, source, universe, Jesus Christ, Allah, everything. And of course, within those constructs of belief, there's different rules because different people make up different rules. Some people make up a lot of stuff. Every Sunday, you have pastors or priests or religious leaders or in front of congregations or groups of people professing to know the will of all creation. Can you imagine that? That's probably a very, very extreme left brain activity. The ego lives in the left brain. And to think that you have access to the will of all creation, that you know exactly what creation wants or demands or asks or requests of us, human beings, that are just here for a little while. Think about that. Sure, it's nice to have order. It's nice to have direction. But religion is an extension of government. You have to look at it for what it is. But so many things in society have us believe so many things. But as you start to work from energy, guess what happens? The blinders start to come off. Remember yesterday we said horse blinders look like this, human blinders look like this. And when the blinders come down, or when the veil is lifted, however you want to say that or look at it, however you want to look at it that way, okay, if you want to look at it that way, you see the truth, and the truth sets you free. Do you remain free? Well, only if you're really strong, only if you practice that. And by practice, I mean live by it. Because why? Well, what happens after that? Well, you have that moment of clarity. And then what happens? Slowly it fades back in. Why? Because you have a clock. Because you have a calendar. Because you have a schedule. Because you have a family. Because. And you go back into the physical world. But you're a spirit in here. You see? Your body is just an interface between you and the physical world. Spirits cannot sin. Okay, I know you've been taught a lot of stuff in Sunday school. Spirits cannot sin. Bodies can sin. It's the body that picks up the alcohol. It's the body that picks up the vape. It's the body that picks up cigarettes, whatever. But it's the will of the spirit. Because the spirit has control over the body 24/7, 365. Yet the spirit doesn't sin. So when one spirit attracts another spirit, right? Remember yesterday I was saying energy? Oh, I like her energy. Oh, I like his energy. And these two energies start to gather because like attracts like. The physical body is the interface between the two spirits. Because otherwise it couldn't happen. They couldn't join. They cannot join. They can't join on the energetic level. You can't jump in somebody else's body to be with that spirit. Okay? But when you discover, I want to say discover, because it's a thing. It exists within you. But because of the commercialism in the physical world, because of the constructs in the physical world, people begin to doubt. This is ideal for religion. This is ideal for government. Why? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, user. This is ideal in government. Why? Well, it keeps you in fear. It keeps you in doubt. That keeps you off of your life path. That keeps you dependent on them. It keeps you dependent on government. It keeps you dependent on religion. It keeps you dependent on the club, whatever club, organization, movement, whatever, construct. They're all human constructs. So you have all these little mini policies. Oh, I need to do this, I need to do this. And what happens? Well, you get distracted into other realities. Then what happens? Well, I belong to the club. I'm one of them. I'm a, whatever it is. And they gave me this medal to wear now. And, I wear it on my lapel because I'm a member of this. So now I identify with that. What about you? What about this? What about your energy? This is where your power is. But it will just sit there until you understand that, oh, okay, I can initiate desire from in here and project it on to the greater energy that I'm the microcosm of, okay, the greater energy being the macrocosm. Macro means big, micro, small, macrocosm, microcosm. But when you project your energy, let's say it another way, your emotion, your feeling against the greater energy, it returns it to you in kind. What else happens when you do this with emotion? It goes into your subconscious as a program. So now what happens? Well, if it's a positive emotion, if it's like, yeah, like I can do this, I got this, I'm good at this, I'm gonna knock this out, right? What happens? Well, it goes into your subconscious as a program. And now you start knocking out all kinds of things. And now you start being good at all kinds of things. And now you've changed your self-image because you feel good about yourself because your subconscious is wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. What does God do? God begins opening doors, bringing the right people. And, oh, I met this guy, and he actually works where I wanted to work at. Now, not, at least now I know somebody there, and then conversations happen. Pretty soon you're working there, and you go, wow, how did that happen? Miracle. Okay. The miracle is in here. That's why Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. Because all your problems have solutions in here, not out here. The solution is not in the bar. The solution is not at the pharmacy. The solution is not in the church. It's not at the library. It's in here. If you go to the library, you'll be reading other people's opinions. If you're good with prosperity consciousness, if you have that connection to the divine and you recognize the connection and you work the connection, you use the connection gets sharper. Intuition gets more, pronounced. You feel it at a greater degree and you start to work off of it. You start to live that way. You start to see synchronicities and how things line up spiritually. Everything in the universe is energy. Everything. Thank you, user. But when you start to see these things, they're all a chain reaction of energy. And now what? Now you're feeling good about yourself. You're pumped up. You're going. You're doing stuff, right? Everything is working right. The right people just so happen, as a coincidence, just so happen to show up. Wow. This is your energetic bridge to go to where you desire. Your energetic bridge. It's almost like, and the bridge just kind of pops up like that, and you just go right across, boom, you get what you want over here. God does that. But it's projected from in here. You're stronger than you realize. When you bring up that energy, when you bring forth that energy, when you exert that energy, when you start to exercise that energy, guess what happens? You start thinking better. Things become easier. There's no anxiety. There's no fear, or very little. Fear comes and goes. So we're supposed to be fearful if, okay, here's your big fat if, okay, there's danger. This is why the negativity bias we were talking about earlier in the week, okay, negativity bias, we're all born with that. We look for the bad things first, but it's so that the species can survive. It's so that we identify the threats, okay? But your subconscious can get into negativity bias. Let me see, we have hey Alex. Thank you, Ed. Gratitude to God Almighty, amen. Yes, of course, all the time. But God lives in here. God is not up there. God is not out there. The only thing out there is nature, and things from someone else is in here. How's it going, Alex? So, when you discover this, okay, when you discover the esoteric meanings of holy writings, what they call holy writings, are they holy writings? Not really. They're written by men. How can they be holy? Well, they're inspired. Okay. If those men were inspired, can't you be inspired? Of course. Today I had planned on talking about the facades that we're taught to believe in. December 25th, Jesus' birthday. Okay, it's not Jesus' birthday. Jesus was born in September. He was born of a virgin, Virgo. It's astrological. But they don't teach this to you in Sunday school. In Matthew, when you walk into the house, follow the man with the water pitcher into the house. House. Constellation. House. And I will meet you upstairs. Where? In the temple. It's astrological. In my Father's house, there are many mansions, right? You've heard that before. Religious people. I have a lot of religious people on my channel. When you translate it out into the original text, it says, in my Father's abode, there are many houses. There are 12 houses. There are 12 people on the jury. Why? Because it takes 12 to bring the truth to light. What else 12? 12. There's 12-step programs. You know, when you do too much alcohol, you go on a 12-step program, come out like brand new. Your first 12-step program is first grade through high school. 12 steps, 12 months in a year. 12. 12 apostles and Jesus. Okay. Anyway, that's a little bit deeper. That's esoteric knowledge. It's not Sunday school. It's not a hi. Hello. How you doing? Sa Yawana. Sorry, I am having trouble with your name, but hi, hello, aloha from Hawaii. But when you recognize these things, when you have an understanding, you begin to see, oh, everything's connected. God is real. Whatever you call that energy, but the energy lives in here. Everything in the universe is energy. Everything is intelligent. God is in everything. So what about the evil people? What about the evil that's being done in the world? Well, there's two sides to everything. There has to be. Without dark, there is no light. But there is a limit to darkness. There is a limit to negativity. You can be in your house and having a good life, and all of a sudden you make some decisions that put you on the street. Okay, now you're on the street. That's bad, right? That's tough. Really, I've been there. I slept on a sidewalk for months. In my early 20s, it was probably the best time for me too, because I didn't reach success yet. Was I angry at God? Was I angry? No, I was having a good time. I was on an adventure. But that's the street. Now, below that is prison. Okay? So, let's say, for example, you're on the street, but you're not doing anything positive, and you get involved in more negativity. Okay, now there's prison. Below prison, there's just one place to go, the graveyard. And that's it. 3 levels of negativity to the end. And at the graveyard, your energy has gone. Your energy goes back. And your body is gone. Your physical interface into the physical world is gone. So you can no longer be held or anchored or interfaced into the physical world. You have a question. You want to go live on TikTok? I don't do that. You can write a question. Go ahead. I will answer you. Why do scientists say the brain is plastic? Because it molds. Plasticity just means that we can change it. So neuroplasticity, we can change, we can rewire our brains. And this is forming new neural pathways, new beliefs. And those pathways become offshoots or the foundations for new behavior. Okay, because the beliefs are, let's go over the subconscious tree for, let's see, for who? Albert. So the subconscious tree, Albert, is like this. So these are your core beliefs in your subconscious. It forms your paradigm, or your attitude, or the way you see the world, or your out view, and then, or your worldview, I should say. And then up here are your actions, the fruits of the tree. So your core beliefs affect your paradigm. They build your paradigm. Now your paradigm creates how your actions will be, and those actions turn into results. So by changing your neural pathways, okay, by changing the neural pathways, you now form a new paradigm because now the beliefs are different. Now you form a new paradigm. Then you have new actions. Those actions produce new results. God is in us, outside nature. You said half truth. Remember, God is everywhere, either in ocean. Okay, so yeah, but you're talking about God's creation is nature, and God is in everything. Yeah, I'm talking about the God in here. I didn't say a half truth. You weren't. I don't think you were here earlier. You ask questions here or DM him here. Yeah, thank you, Jay. Thank you. So, for example, God made the tree. God is in the tree. We breathe the oxygen from the tree. Therefore, we are one with the tree, so to speak. Yet we are separate from the tree. Okay? If you want me to really dive into that, I could, but a lot of people here will not understand that. So maybe message me and I will. You have not understand the firing of neurons. Okay? So let's say that you train yourself to read music or to play music. You are automatically firing new neurons. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Okay? When they fire together, they wire together, they create pathways. Okay? So now you have the pathway to keep practicing music, keep learning music, and music becomes a new thing for you, a new skill set for you. That's what it's talking about, Albert. Sabrina, dive into it. Yeah, I may dive into it pretty soon. I may dive into it one day. But everything works in concert with everything else. Okay? The lack of, or, we're talking about prosperity consciousness versus scarcity consciousness. Scarcity consciousness says that there is no divine connection. I'm all alone. I'm by myself. I have no power. I'm separate from the Creator. You see? Now, in that belief of separation, what happens? I don't know how to make this work. I'm all by myself. I need to figure this out. If you're figuring something out, you're choosing the left brain. That's where the ego lives. The ego thinks it knows best, okay? Surrendering the ego only means that we give up this way of thinking. We migrate over. Okay, the journey of Moses is the migration over to the right side of the brain, esoterically. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father. You cast your net to the right. Why? Well, that's where abundance is. That's where abundance comes from. Because that's where God lives. And that's how God comes and enters into your life. It's that energy. And then you achieve prosperity consciousness. Why? Because now you know you're connected to God. Now you know God brings you your blessings. You don't believe, you know. What happens when you know? You be patient, things show up. What do? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization on any one thing, and it begins to happen. Thank you for helping us better understand ourselves every day. Oh, you're very welcome, Sabrina. You're also welcome to message me and ask me questions, and I will answer. So this is not complicated to understand, okay? But if you believe in God, if you believe in that divine connection, if you believe in prosperity consciousness, there is no problem. There is no difficulty. There is no lack of sustenance. There is no lack, okay? And you will start to see the synchronicities, and you will start to see how everybody works with everybody else. God brings everything to us, all our blessings to us through others. You're very welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, and Jay is saying see you tomorrow. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and we will discuss this further, okay? Because it's important that you know that you're not alone, okay? You're not this one human being alone in the universe.